I had my Arches hot-pressed watercolor paper, my Daniel Smith walnut ink, and my glass dip pen all laid out. So I went at it. The purpose of this exercise was to see if drawing with these items would be delightful or distressing. Spoiler, it wasn't distressing. Plus, it felt like the holiday season was passing me by, so this is a communal greeting card from INCWorks to our viewers. What I like about a glass dip pen, it isn't complicated. You dip, you draw, you rinse. No waffling over which size nib to use or trying to recall which sort of ink is safe for it. In fact, the most stressful part of this project was deciding whether or not to use all caps in the text. Full disclosure, this was initially going to be just a practice piece, but it was looking pretty good, so I ended up putting more effort into it. I mean, if I'd known it was going to be a keeper, I would have centered it better and left enough room for a decorative border. It has crossed my mind that some viewers might become anxious over that open jar of ink, and I understand the concern. I just knew this wasn't going to take very long. I think the total footage was around 45 minutes or so. Yeah, I just don't consider that a danger zone for either evaporation or contamination, in my studio at least. If I had animals or children around while I was working, that would be a different matter. As for spillage, that walnut ink bottle is very stable. It's the Diamine 30 milliliter bottles that have me all a-tremble, which is why later in this session I placed the sepia bottle inside a heavier glass container. I'm sort of embarrassed to say that I live in a town that doesn't have a major bookstore. Not that I have anything against small, used bookshops, but they're not the same as those slick corporate manipulators that maneuver you to every table with flashy sale, save, and hot signs. So we went to the next town to get that big box bookstore experience. I left empty-handed because, as that Crown Books guy used to say, books cost too much. I'm pretty sure producer Mike did some stealth purchasing, though. At least, I hope he paid for the stuff in that bag. Speaking of bags, the other day, my good friend dropped off a bag filled with gifts, including some watercolor paper, a hand-crocheted blanket, and that yummy salted caramel hot cocoa mix from Trader Joe's, which is another thing missing in my town. Sure, we've got 2 Walmarts, a huge shopping mall, 2 multiplex cinemas, and the state fairgrounds, but no Trader Joe's or bookstore. Go figure. Last weekend, we were out and about and indulged in a holiday treat. Admittedly, Panda Express might not fit your idea of a holiday treat, but remember, at the end of A Christmas Story, the whole family had their Christmas Day meal at a Chinese restaurant. So the connection is there. Couple that with both producer Mike and I having serious panda cravings for the past couple of weeks, and we were not going to let a long line deter us from orange chicken, honey walnut shrimp, or Beijing beef. That's right, we're bigger plate people, but only with Chinese food because we like to reserve some leftovers for another meal. Did I mention the line was long? It spanned the side wall, the front wall, and an aisle between the tables. But neither of us even suggested leaving, since we could glimpse the chow mein on the assembly line ahead of us. In fact, serving was delayed twice due to the mein running out quicker than they could handle. Look, I know it's not gourmet, but sometimes you just can't resist fast, cheap, and scooped from a warming tray. Or in the case of Jack in the Box tacos, fast, cheap, and deep fried. I'm not proud of it. I sometimes even feel a need for a shower after. I'm still talking about food, by the way. Diamine's green-black fountain pen ink is a lovely shade and just right for the wreath there. That reminds me, we might not make it up to Molbeck's this year, which means we would miss seeing their seasonal retail displays, decorated Christmas trees, Department 56 villages, and their free samples of Danish kringle and coffee. Bummer. So this time, we're relying a lot on movies to get our holiday on. Unfortunately, it looks like A Christmas Horror Story is no longer streaming for free, which is too bad because I prefer that over Krampus. Krampus was too noisy and didn't make much sense. Well, the same could be said about A Christmas Horror Story, I guess. But I find A Christmas Horror Story more rewatchable, at least. It's only halfway through December, but we've already run through our usual lineup. It's a Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and Elf. Well, when I say run through, I mean fallen asleep 30 minutes in, because we're at that age when naps happen, whether you want them to or not. And it's just dawned on me why producer Mike has been suggesting we eat at IHOP lately. He turned 55 last October, making him a soft senior. I say soft because there doesn't seem to be an officially recognized age for senior citizen status. But IHOP at least honors the 55-plus crowd with discounted meals. I haven't thoroughly researched it, but going by the breakfast sampler menu item, it appears to be not only reduced in price, but reduced in portion as well. So, how is that a discount exactly? A water brush worked really well for this. The reservoir wasn't full. There was just a smidge of water inside, enough to keep the bristles wet. And I want to be clear that I did not add any color to the brush, just clean water. All of the color you see on paper is from the inked line work. Speaking of water, we had to deal with a flooded kitchen last week because an under-sink valve popped off. Thankfully, it wasn't while we were asleep, but producer Mike did have to take the day off. On the plus side, the kitchen floor is now the cleanest it's been in years. Just the other night, I experienced a blast of another sort from the past. Having a craving for some holiday nutcrackery, I searched YouTube and found The Hard Nut, Mark Morris's modern production of Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker Ballet from the early 1990s. I've been a fan of other, more traditional versions, but The Hard Nut is different and fun. The party scene has guests getting sloshed and swinging, children running wild, a shiny dancing robot, and a Barbie dream house under the Christmas tree. The choreography has less point work, but lots of energy. And it has a dance of the snowflakes that, to me, is the highlight of the show. There's probably a touch of wish fulfillment going on. I mean, who wouldn't want to jump around in a tutu, flinging snowflakes from their fingertips? Although, in my daydreams, I'm shouting, "Bam!" with each burst. I'm happy to share this holiday ink drawing. I like the look of the ink washes combined with the line work. The walnut ink seems rather subtle compared to the green-black, but then all of the Diamine fountain pen inks that I've tried so far have been intense. Until next time, we wish you a delightful December, and stay artsy, my friends.